In 1999, the Smoke Free Fashion Awards, which were a competition, and the Weller Fashion Report, which was 4 times a year a television program I was producing, were both axed by Television New Zealand. And there was no platform at all for New Zealand designers to show, to do anything. Neville Findlay and Liz Findlay, who'd been with Zambezi in London, and the guys from World said, why don't we have our own fashion week? It was 2001 that we first started.
I'd done fashion shows before, but never on that scale. And oh my goodness, I had no idea about a running order and a run sheet. And I was out the back and Marissa Finlay was tearing her hair out because we kind of didn't know what we were doing. We thought we did, but we didn't.
Our very first Fashion Week show was at the Auckland Memorial Museum. It was called Birds of Paradox. We had a live show. We had a few hiccups where no one had organised the racks to go to the museum for the show.
We knew nothing about fashion shows. We'd never done anything like that. When we first got involved, we were like the outsiders of fashion. Everyone looked at us like we didn't belong here because we, I guess, weren't formally trained in fashion.
And to see the shows that the designers put on was fantastic as well, because most of them had not done large-scale shows to an audience like that, let alone shown overseas in a fashion week.
Fashion Week grew us up and we grew up Fashion Week, and we all learned to become really professional and understand what Fashion Week meant on an international scale.
What I've absolutely loved about being involved the 20 years is seeing how this event, it totally brings us together, brings the industry together, and it's growing us up as an industry.
For me, being part of New Zealand Fashion Weeks meant being part of the New Zealand fashion community. For the brand, it's meant that we've been able to grow and become known, and really that's kind of the most crucial and hardest part of starting a brand.
It's very easy to live in your own tunnel, I guess, head down when you're working and we're all on deadlines and we've all got different priorities happening. But to stop and come together as an industry and celebrate each other, it's really wonderful.
I think as a designer showing it at Fashion Week, it's a chance to show off and show all the work that you've been doing. But an hour or two that night, it's complete brand immersion. We get to tell the story about our collection or our brand, and we've really got everyone trapped in that building. They can't go anywhere. So.
But that experience is just exactly what they picture it on movies. And it's exciting because you actually see your clothes come together.
So my first Fashion Week experience, I was fresh out of working for Karen Walker. I didn't do anything by the book, and Peter and Micah will remember me as a bit of a thorn on their side. I wiggled my way into all the shows. I went backstage when I shouldn't have. I sat on the ground in between 2 blocks of seats and completely blocked the fire egress. But all I wanted to do was get in there and get a feel for Fashion Week.
I'm personally, like, every time I do Fashion Week, just so excited to be there. The vibe is always good.
The energy at Fashion Week is vibrant, electric. It's fantastic. We look forward to that every year.
People are dressed head to toe and considered, and their outfits are colourful, and all the restaurants are full, and people are celebrating before and after the show. So there's definitely an energy about town, for sure, when it's on.
A little bit like a get-together with all of your other creative family. You're all working together to make this moment amazing. So it's really exciting, and it makes you feel really proud, actually, to be part of the New Zealand fashion industry is how I feel.
And I suppose the ways that it's evolved have been quite organic. We started off with the superstars of New Zealand fashion, who are all household names, and most of all have been given Queen's honours. And then we had this amazing resurgence of young up-and-coming brands: Juliet Hogan, Salasai, 27 Names, Adrian Hayward, Sibel. And I suppose Fashion Week has evolved with those people and with those generations. Now we see Wynne Hamlin, Maggie Marilyn, Paris, Georgia, Rachel Mills, all of these brands coming through, and they are changing the way that Fashion Week has had to shape itself.
It's your opportunity to showcase your work and at an elevated level. People globally that work in beauty would see what was happening New Zealand Fashion Week and be like, what happens down there? It's so cool and it's so strong and it's got a very unique point of view.
I think when I look back over the last 20 years in Auckland, I just think that retail has absolutely bloomed and blossomed. It's kind of changed quite a bit. I think 20 years ago we had a store in High Street and that was the fashion centre of Auckland and was sort of the only little fashion hub.
I feel like Auckland's fashion district now would be Britomart, that area down there that's just completely just grown up out of nothing. I remember when it just used to be the bus station.
It's great boutiques all around there, and there's a nice mix of established brands and new brands.
I'm biased. Obviously, my business and I live here in Newmarket as well too. I love shopping in Newmarket.
And you can't go past Ponsonby because as a strip that used to just be for grazing and getting coffee in cafes, now it's got some of Auckland's most amazing fashion destinations too.
I've always loved that bohemian vibe of K Road, and I was op shopping there in the 90s and I still do now, so it's just so cool to know that there's still those little secondhand shops.
Little precincts which makes up Tamaki Makaurau now in fashion is a beautiful thing to see, and it's just way more accessible to consumers like myself who never had money back then in the 2000s to buy a Zambezi piece or an international piece. I can do that now, and I can decide whether to go to Britomart, High Street, Commercial Bay, or Karangi Happy Road. So a very sportful choice.
The main thing that I've noticed with Auckland evolving over the last 20 years or so is just way more on offer, a higher caliber of retailers available to everyone. In all areas, like food, the food is amazing, exceptional, almost to the point that when I travel, I'm so fussy now because the food is so good in Auckland.
There's beautiful restaurants that complement all of the shopping districts, so you're never stuck for a place to have a great coffee or lunch between shops.
The ultimate fashion weekend I'll take my girls to would be dining at a long lunch at Soul Bar, then continue the drinking and probably go to Commercial Bay.
Recently I had an amazing lunch at Alma down in Britomart. It's about tying and going, where's the great restaurant in that shopping area, and you build your weekend around that.
Love going to Waiheke Island. There's great places to eat, great places to explore.
I am totally a West Coast beach girl.
I'd have to say Piha. I've spent a lot of time at Piha, and it's crazy the colours out there. There's this real gritty sort of dark kind of vibe out there with the black sand, the rocks, and all the bush how it comes down to meet the ocean. And then on the ocean side, you've got, on a beautiful clear day, you've got these crazy blue colours and you've got an orange sunset, and that kind of collides with that sort of barren, dark kind of sort of land scene. And I think that does inspire style, whether I would admit it or not.
I think New Zealand Fashion Week is a wonderful thing to add vibrancy to the Auckland CBD when it's on.
It brings the city alive, and everywhere you walk or turn, you're seeing somebody looking fabulous and amazing in a nice ensemble and really making an effort.
It's the energy of people coming together that I think is really positive, and the flow-on effect for all businesses in that surrounding area.
To run your own solo show at Fashion Week, it is intense. It's a lot for only maybe 10 minutes on the show, but it's so worth it.
A lot of work, a lot of nights in the studio, a lot of making extra garments and extra little bits and pieces that aren't normally part of your collection.
We've got to come up with a creative concept for the show, so there's the art direction of the show. We've got to cast it, we've got to come up with music, all of these. So there's all these different elements that lead up, build up to the show.
I still feel nervous before shows even now because I think it is always such an honour to be able to contribute to someone's artistic vision.
No, we always look at the runway shows as half party, half runway show, because it's got to be entertaining for people and it can't always be about the clothes.
Energy backstage at Fashion Week is hectic but also so exciting and electric, and it's all going off.
People are running left, right, centre. Someone's obviously screaming down the house.
Sometimes it can be hectic. Sometimes you've got models that are running from other shows. Sometimes, there's drama that happens. Someone starts crying and the makeup's all ruined, or someone on your team is crumbling under the pressure, whatever it may be. It's always a blast. It always feels like a party backstage.
There is a lot of real nervous energy, but it's good energy. And there are some pretty tight timelines sometimes. It's not uncommon to have potentially 3 hair people and 2 makeup people on one girl.
It's just that bang, it all happens, and actually the end of the show is always just a bit of a blur for me, that basically Wayne pushes me out onto the runway and I run back off as fast as I can.
Stepping out onto the runway at the end it's exciting, it's overwhelming. I guess you're almost celebrating the show for the people that have been involved with you.
And I just love the process from start to finish. I love the high pressure. I love the fact that it only happens once and you have to get it right. I kind of love the adrenaline of it, to be honest. I work really well under pressure and I love problem solving and being creative.
Standing at the end of the runway and all the cameras flashing was very confronting and a bit overwhelming, but I am a Leo and I am a performer, so I just kind of loved it. I got to have my Beyonce moment and I enjoyed it.
One of my favourite memories of Fashion Week was a kids' show. One of the models, who was 4 and adorable, had a flat-out tantrum and did a big tanty on the catwalk and just went starfish, flat face down, and wouldn't get up and was really, really grumpy. But when you see it on the video, it's actually so adorable and so 4-year-old.
The first show I ever produced, I was trying to tell the staging team to turn the snow off, and the designer was like, no, keep it going. All the models started slipping over. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry because the designer was cross, but she actually got front page for it, so.
Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson.
It was definitely a highlight to see her in the flesh and to touch that body with some lotion and some body makeup.
Lots of stolen memories. There was the time where we lined up everyone for our main catwalk show at one of the sheds. We actually had all the male models hidden in the portaloos, and one by one they started walking out of the portaloos and doing a catwalk.
Stolen Girlfriends show where Zara Merkin styled those 80s ball gowns that just were kind of all Velcro strapped at the back and pulled off our Velcro dresses to show the actual clothes underneath, which was really cool. But I kind of liked my 80s prom dress, actually.
2016, Halewood, and it was a 1920s themed show with a choir. It was beautiful, it was fantastic, well thought out and amazing, and the gowns were incredible.
My solo show, I think for me, the only person that I really wanted to see was my mum. And as soon as I walked out, that's the first thing I didn't care about anything else but looking for my mum. Boom, that was it for me. It was just like everything come together.
And a really awesome birthday celebration for Hapa, where Asia Rock jumped out of birthday cake on the catwalk. I'll never forget how wonderful that felt to be part of.
Mitamoda is always exciting for me to watch and witness because Obviously showcasing Māori designers, Indigenous designers and their brands. And I find that show the most exciting show of the week for me.
Hohepa or Hori proposing to his wife, Mia. That was a big moment for Metal Motor as well. I think just being there was the biggest thing for me. One of the biggest things that that kind of uplifted my career.
I'm really proud of the opportunity that Fashion Week has given to so many people. At the time of the event, there's hundreds working on it, some for the first time as volunteers and in areas they've never worked on before, but just in awe of being there. But the opportunity it's given to the designers, to the tech crews, to the production crews.
With our volunteers, I think they play such a vital part in us putting a Fashion Week show together. And so it's important for me to acknowledge them if I'm backstage doing my mahi. It's important for me to acknowledge them as part of this unit that we've all created, because we just wouldn't have a show without them.
I think New Zealand Fashion Week has a great future, as it has always had since Pieta began it. She has left an amazing legacy.
I can only hope that the next 20 years is curated and driven by people who have cared as much about New Zealand Fashion Week and fashion in general as Pieta and her team have.
I think that sustainability and doing better as we know better is a very exciting part of where fashion is going, and young designers are going to lead us there.
You know, it's important that everybody feels seen and represented, and that's the way that fashion can really change culture and contribute to, you know, a positive future.
Respond to our environments, respond to the people of the environment. Listen to what they say, listen to what they do, because it'll influence the way that you see the world.
Yeah, I think everybody deserves to feel seen and feel heard. For me, it just means that is true inclusivity, and it would be an authentic reflection of who we are and who lives here.
More new designers, we need that. We need that young blood. More parties, we need more parties. So many brands don't do after parties. Come on, we've got to celebrate our work. It's important. Put an exclamation point on that.